Good morning, everyone. It's an early rise for me today, and I only got up once in the middle of the night. Sometimes that happens, and also fasting, changing my schedule, all of that will obviously change my sleep. But it's a beautiful day here. The ice advisory has been lifted, so people at least can drive safely because the roads become very dangerous when we get that icy rain. And so, yeah, for me, it's another day at home, another day of sending out applications for work, another day of storming the heavens, asking God to bless me, to help me to get paid employment. And today's gospel was about taking up our cross and following the Lord. And what does that mean for us? For us, it means choosing life, not death, and also looking at our own histories. So if you look at the struggle for independence of countries, whether it's Zimbabwe or South Africa or India, there's always that choice that people made to choose lives for themselves, for their communities, but that has to be balanced with the lives of others. And I remember when I made my choices to go to university in South Africa, I applied to a lot of different universities, and I wasn't a straight A student, so I worked very, very hard to get my grades up, and I couldn't get into the University of Zimbabwe because you needed to have all A's to get into the University of Zimbabwe, and I didn't have all A's. So I applied to South Africa, and all the universities in South Africa took me because they had an understanding that I was coming from a racialized background. And I had written in my, like you write an application, I had written to say that I grew up without my dad and I had worked hard, and they all accepted me. But when I got the offer letters, I read I guess you'd call it a manifesto or whatever you like of the universities. And UCT and WITS were the only two that were very clear that they did not tolerate racism and that they stood for equality. And South Africa was known to be a racist country. So we knew that it was hard to go there even to visit or to get operations done or anything. And that's how I made my choice to go to WITS, because WITS wrote a very nice letter of acceptance, and they had that on all their letterhead, that they stand for equality and they stand against racism. And so for me, that began my journey of choosing life for myself, but balancing it with choosing life for others as well. Because in Zimbabwe, at the beginning it was good. Like, you can listen to Mr. Mugabe's talks, you can listen to the messages that were put out compared to today, and you can see the difference. So that's part of our journey of questioning, how do we choose life? Where do we choose life? How do we find that balance? And part of that is in taking up our cross. Taking up our cross means not giving up. It doesn't mean choosing euthanasia. It doesn't mean that we have a death wish. It doesn't mean that we cut ourselves off from others. It doesn't mean that we hurt others. That's not the message of choosing our cross, especially at Lent. And even the church teaches that you don't have to fast and you don't have to kill yourself to even go to Mass. Today we have people just like then that will bring Holy Communion to your home if you need it. Even when I was growing up, that happened. The priests or lay people would take Holy Communion to people in the hospitals. So it doesn't mean that we have to kill ourselves, but we have to be faithful to the Lord and faithful to His message for us. And part of that message is choosing life. And that's coming directly from the Old Testament scriptures being fulfilled in the New Testament scriptures. So when you grow up in extreme poverty, obviously you want to come out. Obviously you want to come out of it. And for me, I partner with others, or I join others. I volunteer in different groups. I don't always take action online. Some of my action is offline. Some of it is in praying with friends. Sometimes it's going to church. But there's a lot I do online where we sign petitions, where we join with others. And people say that, oh, women's rights have advanced so far and Africa's rising. But if you actually read the articles of what's happening to women all over the world, including in Canada, women's rights are being taken away. The right to make decisions around your health care, the right for equal work, the right for equal pay, the right to live in a country without fear. And so I read those articles before I sign the petitions, like for Global Citizen. I do the quizzes, I read the articles, and if they are worthwhile sharing, or I think they are worthwhile sharing, then I post them. Because having an education is not enough. The structural injustice in countries is very obvious. And if you look at my life in Canada, it's very obvious, and it's done on purpose. Because I'm coming from a very different culture to the culture that exists here. So when I'm telling people, you're not treating me fairly, you're not giving me the opportunities I deserve, they're like, ah. Because they don't have that heart for justice. They don't have that heart for acknowledging that people are coming from situations that they would not be able to cope with. So they're very condescending. But that doesn't mean that I don't keep fighting. And it was only because of me that Teleperformance even gave that 50-cent increase. And then afterwards, when they said, oh, we want you to speak up, I said, I'm not speaking up. Because when I do speak up, you people punish me. I get the best for everybody. Everyone benefits from my life, including in the workplace. And then when I need the help, it's like pulling teeth to get any help, whether it's to get a job or to get opportunities to volunteer in the church, to help to direct retreats. I don't get those opportunities. So I'm not going to speak up. And they're like, no, you have to. I'm like, no, I'm not. Because why haven't you promoted me? Why haven't you fixed my ID to continue working at Teleperformance? Why haven't you given me those jobs that are paying over $50,000 a year? Why do you keep telling me that we're going to let you go, and when we bring you in, we're going to bring you in at minimum wage? If you say you value me, if you say that my voice is valued, if you say that I'm appreciated, why do you treat me so horribly? So that's part of taking up our cross, and that's part of my journey. And I don't do it anymore. I do sometimes join with others, but I fight for myself the way I always have, because it's also my life. The same way Jesus fought for his life before they crucified him, he answered back. He spoke back even to those in authority over him, whether it was the religious leaders, whether it was the Sanhedrin, whether it was even his own disciples, and whether it was Pilate and the Romans who ultimately gave the orders to kill him. He fought for his life till the end, and he prayed to the Heavenly Father to help him, to bless him, to be with his disciples, to keep them united. So I too carry my cross, and I fight for my life. I fight to get work. I fight to turn away from sin. That's something our priest mentioned yesterday in his sermon. I too fight spiritual battles. I too fight through my prayers. And that's part of my journey of carrying my cross. And so too with the black leaders, especially in Zimbabwe. They shouldn't put the whites or the Indians and other races down too quickly, because everybody was there with them. and everybody wants to have life. Everybody wants to have opportunity. And the white farmers are feeding them. So they shouldn't be condemning the white farmers and condemning the Indians who have retail businesses. They also are earning a living. I also am trying to earn my own living and to be financially independent. And no, I don't support a socialist system, because the socialist system is doing exactly what Zimbabwe did. It's creating great divides between the rich and the poor. And that's not what I want for my life. And I don't want to every month get to the end of the month and say, oh, I don't have money, I still don't have a job, I still don't have work, but yet I've got all the skills, I've got all the qualifications, I've got all that I need to be able to go out and work, and yet I'm not being supported. And it's not fair for the banks like TD or RBC or CIBC or anywhere else to say they're supporting me. If somebody else makes a mistake, I tell them to file something somewhere, they file it in the wrong place, and so you let me go. That's not fair to me. You couldn't fix my ID to work at Teleperformance, so you let me go. And then I'm sitting at home for months on end, and your solution is, oh, we'll put supports in place for you through the hospital. That's not a solution. The solution is to get me into a good paid job, a very good paid job, and to help me, to support me in that job so I can come up. I do very, very well in all my jobs, and sending me to go in Sunnybrook is not the solution. And I even told my brother said, you've worked hard, you sponsored Mom, I couldn't do that, and people are going through hard times, you should just be completely dependent on the government and let the government take care of you. And I told him I don't want that. I want to work, I want to be independent, I want to live in my own place, I want to buy my own property, I want to travel. I'm still young, I'm not old, and there are people who are older than me, people who have even more disability than me, people who have had the same experiences as me, who are also not giving up, who also want to work, and I am not giving up. I take up my cross every day and I follow the Lord. And the same way that Christians got South Africa to break, it was Christians at Wits that turned that university around and said we are not going to accept racism. So Christianity can be used to do evil, but it can also be used to do good. And I am not giving up. I want to work. I don't want to go and live with people. In the end, my grandmother went and she lived with my uncles in America. They took her because it became so hard. And she also got tired of fighting. But she put that fighting spirit in me, just like my dad. And I'm fighting for my life. I'm fighting to live. And the people who are working against me, they've got a fight on their hands. Because I am not willing to go and live in Sunnybrook. And I am not willing to be completely dependent on the government. And in any case, in Canada, the government doesn't take care of you. They don't give anything. If you sponsored your mother and brought her here, they don't give anything to your mother. They don't take care of people here the way they do in England. So I am fighting to get a job and to work, and the sooner the better. And why am I not getting those jobs paying over $65,000 a year? I've also worked hard. I've also got good skills. It's not only the whites that should get those jobs. It's not. I also want those types of jobs, and I also want the exceptions and the special treatment. It's not only the blacks who are demanding it. I'm also demanding it. The blacks get a lot of support now. You know why? They speak up. They use their voices. They take a risk, just like me. And in South Africa, the Indians do it themselves too. So too, I'm doing it. And I'm telling you, it's not good enough. How I'm being treated is unfair. And it's unjust. And it's structural injustice. And it has to change.